They taught you that Nanny of the Maroons was just a warrior, a rebel who fought the British, a woman who led escaped enslaved people into the mountains. They gave you the basic story and moved on. But they left out the most important part. Nanny wasn't just a fighter, she was a mystic, a spiritual warrior who understood consciousness at another level that made her untouchable. She didn't just use weapons, she used the land. She didn't just organize people, she unified souls. She didn't operate on the frequency of fear and survival. She operated on elevated consciousness. And the colonizers, they were terrified, not just of her tactics, but of her power, the kind of power that can't be killed because it doesn't live in the body, it lives in the spirit. And that same power is in you, in your bloodline, in your DNA, in your soul. But they convince you to forget it. And today, I'm here to remind you. Let me tell you what they don't teach you about Nanny. She wasn't operating on the same level as the colonizers. While they were thinking about weapons and warfare, she was thinking about spiritual protection. While they were trying to dominate the land, she was becoming one with it. Nanny knew the mountains, she knew the plants, she knew where to hide, where to grow food, where water flowed. But it wasn't just knowledge, it was connection. She understood that the land wasn't just territory to claim, the land was alive. And when you honor it, it protects you. The British would send soldiers into the mountain to find the Maroons, and they'd get lost, disoriented, like the land itself was working against them. Because it was. Nanny knew how to move with the land, not against it. And that's a consciousness colonizers will never understand because they only know how to take. But here's what made Nanny truly unstoppable. She understood unity, not just people working together, soul level unity. She created a community where people didn't just survive, they thrived. They grew their own food, built their own homes, governed themselves, educated their children. They didn't need the plantation system. They created their own system based on mutual support, shared resources, and collective power. And here's the part they really don't want you to know. She used spiritual warfare. Nanny wasn't just a military strategist. She was connected to the ancestors, to the spiritual realm. She performed rituals. She called on forces the colonizers couldn't see and didn't believe in. And that's what made her dangerous. She was operating on a frequency that they couldn't access. The colonizers could only fight what they could see. But how do you fight someone who's been guided by the ancestors? How do you defeat someone who's tapped into spiritual power that's been passed down for generations? You can't. That's why Nanny's legacy didn't just survive, it thrived. That's why the Maroons got a treaty. Not because they begged, because they were undefeatable, because their consciousness was on a level the colonizers couldn't match. Now, look at Jamaica today. Look at what's happened to that consciousness. Look at what's happened to that unity. Violence, divisions, Jamaicans fighting Jamaicans, communities at war with each other over territory that none of you even own. Low vibration energy, fear, scarcity, survival mode, destruction. And I need you to understand something. That's not your nature. That's programming. Your ancestor didn't survive the Middle Passage, resist enslavement, and build free communities so you could destroy each other. Nanny unified people who had been broken. She took people from different tribes, different languages, different backgrounds, and she created a community, a family, a nation within a nation. But what did the system do after her? They divided you. They turned you against each other. They make you think your enemy is the person in the next community instead of the system that's still extracting from all of you. They replaced ancestral consciousness with colonial consciousness. They taught you that strength is violence, that power is domination, that success is individual, that the land is something to exploit, not honor, that spirituality is primitive, and you need their religion to be civilized. And worst of it all, they convinced you that you're disconnected from the land, from the ancestors, from each other, from your own power. But that's a lie. You're not disconnected. You're just asleep. And everything in the system is designed to keep you that way. Because if you woke up, if you remembered what Nanny knew, if you operated on that level of consciousness, you'd be unstoppable, just like she was. So let's talk about what needs to change. First, stop the violence. Not because I'm preaching peace and love, but because violence against your own people is exactly what they want. Every Jamaican killing another Jamaican is doing the colonizers' work for free. You think you're being tough. You're being used. You think you're protecting your territory. You don't even own it. You think you're strong. Strong people don't destroy their own community. They build it. Nanny didn't win by turning Maroons against each other. She won by unifying them, by making them understand we are all we have. And when we stand together, we're undefeatable. That's the consciousness you need to return to. The unity, not division, not competition, not territory wars over land you're renting. Return to unity. Second, reconnect with the land. Nanny's power came from her relationship with the land. She grew her own food. She knew the plants. She understood that sovereignty means you can sustain yourself without depending on systems that exploit you. But what are you doing? Buying everything from people who don't care about you. You're eating food that's poisoning you. You're living in concrete, disconnected from the soil your ancestors bled into. You want power? Grow something. Put your hands in the earth. Learn what plants heal you. Understand that the land isn't just dirt. It's your foundation. It's your connection to the ancestors. It's your source. When you reconnect with the land, you reconnect with a consciousness that can't be colonized. Third, elevate your vibration. Low vibration is fear, it's scarcity, it's violence, it's division, it's self-hatred. That's the frequency the system needs you on to stay controlled. High vibration is love for your people, connection to the ancestors, knowing your power and operating from abundance. Nanny operated on high vibration. That's why she could do what seemed impossible. That's why she could lead people to freedom when freedom looked impossible. You want to break free? You have to shift the frequency. Stop consuming content that keeps you in fear. Stop engaging in violence that keeps you in survival mode. Stop operating like you're lacking when your ancestors proved you have everything you need. Elevate. That's not spiritual bypassing, that's strategy. Because a people operating on high vibration cannot be controlled by a system seeking to oppress them. Here's what I want you to understand. This isn't just history. This isn't just inspiration. This is a soul activation. You carry Nanny's DNA. You carry Maroon consciousness. You carry the memory of people who refused to be enslaved and built free communities in the mountains. That didn't disappear. It's in you. It's in your bones, in your blood, in your soul. But you have to activate it. You have to remember. Remember that your ancestors were mystics. They were spiritual warriors, people who understood consciousness, connection, and power at a level the colonizers feared. Remember that they unified. They didn't fight each other. They fought the system together. Remember that they were connected to the land. that they sustained themselves, that they didn't need permission from anyone to exist freely. Remember that they operated on high vibration, not fear, not scarcity, not violence for violence sake, but love for their people, protection of their community, and elevation of consciousness. That's who you are. That's what's embedded in you. That's what you forgot. And the moment you remember, everything changes. You stop destroying each other and start building together. You stop depending on their systems and start creating your own. You stop operating on low vibration and start elevating. You become what they've always feared, a people who know their power. Nanny didn't survive so you could forget. She didn't fight so you could stay asleep. She didn't create free communities so you could stay trapped in their system. She survived so you could remember, so you could activate, so you could become who you were always meant to be. So stop the violence, stop the division, stop operating like you're powerless when your bloodline proved you're not. Reconnect with the land, elevate your consciousness, unify with your people. That's how you honor Nanny. That's how you honor all the ancestors who gave everything so you could be free. Now, remember, activate and rise and stay awake.